Good morning, friends. It's Heather at Bush Poppy Farm. The irrigation supplies have arrived, so we're going to take care of part of that job because I still need a couple of things, and then we're going to be doing some fun transplanting. Thanks for your patience, you guys. I had a 2-day migraine that just took me out. So I'm back in the game today, but moving a little slower than normal. So I appreciate you hanging out and waiting. Like I said, I've got most of what I need for the irrigation. There's a few things that I don't have that will have to wait till probably tomorrow. I have to actually go to a hardware store to pick those up. But I think we can get the majority of the stuff done. So let's go take care of that. And then we're going to do a little bit of transplanting. Our weather has turned again. It is cold, and today, for right now, it's not breezy, but it's been very windy the last couple days, and back down in the 30s at night. So all the stuff that I've been hardening off to transplant out is like summertime stuff, and it really doesn't want to go out when it's really cold. It'll start warming up again next week. So next week we'll do some of that major transplanting, like the celosia and some of the sunflowers and stuff. But I just want to check on everything, see what's here, what has been eaten, what hasn't. I think most things are still here, but the growth has slowed again because, again, we are cold, and it's going to remain cold for the next probably 3 days. Also, potentially we're going to get a little bit of rain tomorrow, crossing my fingers. Scattered showers, scattered thunderstorms actually, even though it's going to be cold. So I'm really hoping that happens because that helps to soften up the soil, that even though it's been on irrigation, the stuff that hasn't been is really hydrophobic at this point. And that's hard to re-wet. So yeah, I'm hoping we get at least a little bit of rain. All right, I'm going to carry this box out. It's got a whole bunch of stuff in it, and we will start tackling some of these irrigation issues down at the other end. Okay, I am nearly done, but I thought maybe for those who are new and haven't seen this kind of irrigation done before, I would talk about it really quick. I put irrigation down in that bed there, and before it was just regular tube irrigation. This is drip tape. It's more efficient, and I think it'll be better for the dahlias over time. Then I installed the drip back onto that far bed over there, and then I'm putting drip in this bed. So what I did was I came up here to the main line, and I put a T intersection there. So now this pipe runs down here. This is now the header for this bed, and I tied it off there so it ends there. You just do that with one of these little figure-8 clips. You slide it in, cinch it, and then slide it back in. So that's all tied off. And then I used my poking tool to put the 3 spigot valves in. So one of the things, you can get these that are without the valve. It's just an attachment, which is fine. That's great. But I love these because you can turn this valve off and this line won't get water. So what's helpful for that is that, let's say you have a whole bunch of beds running on the same zone, and you have a bed that you need to flip, or let's say you have garlic in it and you want it to dry out for a couple days before you harvest. You can turn off the individual drip tape to just that bed, and it'll still run the whole zone, but that bed won't get any water. So I think these are very effective. They're only a little bit more expensive than the regular ones, and I prefer them every time. In fact, even if, like, when we took all the drip tape off of those beds down there to redo them, I left the valves in. I just turned them off. So I didn't have to worry about water leaking through that system. Once we took the drip tape off, I could just close those valves. So I highly recommend them. So how do you attach the drip tubing? This is a cinch down here. So you just twist it and it gets tight or loose. Now it's on the loose setting. This is my drip tape. These have emitters every 6 inches. And it's the high flow variety because we are dead dry in the summertime. You can get it in medium flow and low flow. I get all my stuff from DripWorks. There are other companies that carry it too. Okay, so now I have this on here, and I'm just going to ratchet that down, and that should hold it in place. Every once in a while they pop off. They're really easy to get back on. So now all I need to do is run it out to the end, staple it down, because when it gets pressurized, it flops around and moves around on the bed. So I'll staple it down, and then this bed will be irrigated. Now, how do you know how much irrigation to put on this bed? I could do 4 rows on this bed instead of just 3, but I think the 3 is going to do it. I generally tend to plant almost every flower crop at 6-inch spacing, unless it's something really big. Like dahlias, I'll put in, they'll be in at 12-inch spacing because they're going to be in there forever. But all the annual stuff, I pretty much do 6-inch spacing, unless it's something really big like Daucus or Amimajus that might need 9 inches. So it's really easy. I just plant at the emitter spots. So I'm not planning on putting anything in between these rows. Although, like at the home garden, I might do a row of lettuce or something in between crops spaced on the 6-inch mark. But yeah, so this should be enough. If I notice that they're suffering, I can always put in another line. But I think since there'll be an emitter at every spot where there's a plant, I think we'll be just fine. So let me get this rolled out, stapled down, and then we'll be done at the farm for today. So this is take 2 because I just spoke to you for a couple of, I don't know, a minute or 2 with no microphone. Anyway, it is after lunchtime, so I'm gonna go get something to eat, and then we'll go home and do some transplanting. We're gonna put the basil in the garden, the vegetable garden. It's been hardening off for days, and so it's fine. It'll be ready to go even though it's overcast and cool. And then I have some stuff I need to put in the front porch because the plants that were there, other than the jasmine in this one container, are completely dead. So want to replace those because it looks awful. And potentially start planting up in containers some of those scented geraniums. Okay, it is actually starting to rain a little bit, which is great. I'm not complaining. So under the cover of the porch, we're going to do this one potting up job. The rest are out. And I don't really feel like getting wet. So it's not raining hard, but I don't feel like working in the rain and the cold. So we'll do those tomorrow, unless it's raining. and then we'll see. So the project up here is going to be to dig up what's left of a fern and I think it was a heuchera, out of this pot. This is a star jasmine that climbs up this trellis and goes across the pergola there and joins up with the other one, which you can see is in bloom right now. It's beautiful and it smells really good. So what I need to do is just dig this out, and then I have two things to put in. Okay, we're going to put another coleus in. They're small. It will fill in a little bit over the summer, and then it'll just die back in the winter. But this is the French Quarter color. It does thrive in both sun and shade, and this doesn't get that big. 16-inch spacing, height 18 inches. So, you know, not going to get that big, but this definitely got some nasty leaves on there. I need to clean it up a little bit. Then we're going to water it once it gets in here. Next to it is going to go this plant. This is so beautiful. I couldn't walk away from it. This is a Brunnera. This is Silver Heart. Partial sun to shade, woodland garden, and let's see. Keep soil consistently moist. Blooms in the spring, but they're little cobalt blue forget-me-not flowers. So I'm not really planting this for the flowers. I'm planting it for the really beautiful foliage. This guy it's hardy to zones 3 through 8. Slowly reaches 6 to 12 inches tall, spreading 12 to 24 inches wide. So I think that will be perfect for the majority of this, and then we'll have the coleus over there. But what I love about it is it's going to be nice and bright, because this is a very dark porch. Never gets sun. It's really dark in here. And so having that bright spot of color there will be so, so nice. I think it will really draw the eye. So I'm going to pull out all these dead leaves, dig up the root balls of what's left of the fern and the other heuchera, and then we're going to go ahead and get these guys planted. Okay, so I put one extra plant in there, but boy, does it look better. So we've got the Brunnera, we've got that coleus, and we have an autumn fern. This is a semi-deciduous fern, so it'll lose some of its leaves in the winter. It gets about 2 feet tall, and it gets really, in the spring, the fronds are like bright red, bronzy color. They're really pretty. Now that may end up looking weird with this Brunnera, since this is silver and a cool color, so I may end up having to move that at some point, but for now, it's good. I also added a whole lot of fertilizer to each hole and to the pot in general, and then put a layer of compost on top and then gave it a deep watering. So the next couple days, I need to water this repeatedly to make sure that the soil is truly getting wet all the way down. There is water coming out the bottom, but this pot sometimes goes too long without water. And even though the jasmine can handle that, these other plants cannot. So I'm going to, you know, make sure I stay up on it. But I think when the Brunnera gets bigger, it's just going to be so gorgeous. I might maybe just put another one in there. I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to cram things too tight, but I love that bright silver color. Yeah, that looks much better. Okay, before we go, I just want to show you what else I got to put elsewhere in the garden, in addition to the things that we already have. So last year, in the fall, I cut back hard the albutilon that I had in both of the big containers by the greenhouse. One of them came back. It's putting on branching and everything. It's looking good. The other did not. So I just have one to replace that. This one is pretty big compared to the one that's coming back, but that's okay. It is the Neon Rose variety. It gets 8 feet tall. It says it's evergreen, but mine do lose their leaves. Zones, well, this is the Sunset magazine zones, 8, 9, 12 through 24, and I'm in zone 14 for those zones. So you only would really know that know what zone you're in for a Sunset magazine if you live in the West. Because it's got lots of microclimates represented, so it's really nice. It's better than the USDA. Anyway, it's got lots of blooms on it, and I'm gonna pop that in tomorrow when it's in between rain. This next one is the Striping Beauty. It is a really great pollinator shrub. It blooms for basically 12 months of the whole year. It'll get 6 by 6 with like fig-like foliage, and you can see that here. Looks like fig leaves. And then it gets these really beautiful pink flowers. They're very large, kind of like hollyhocks, so they're very open, so they're great for pollinators. Now, I got these because in the 2 wine barrel containers that are next to that full sun bed, I have chrysanthemums and beautiful violas that I planted back in October, and they are still looking gorgeous and will start producing even more flowers. I also put what I usually grow in there is a tomato. Well, last night, I guess, when I came out this morning to water, both of those tomatoes had been eaten. So, and I think it's from a bunny, because the bunnies can hop up in there, either a bunny or a rat. Anyway, I decided, fine, I'm not going to put another tomato there and fight nature. I'm going to put these guys there. They'll get really tall against that back wall. They will provide pink flowers that will look really nice against that kind of purple-blue color of the violas. And I have no idea what the color of those mums is. I don't remember. Probably some autumn color. So that may end up looking weird and I may have to change things out, but those mums probably won't bloom for quite some time. So we'll just see how it goes, but these will be permanent in there. And I made sure I got multi-branched varieties so that or multi-branched pots, because some of them were a single stem. You know, I'll have to keep cutting these back as perennials, but I think they'll look really nice in there and they'll give me that height in the back. Okay, we can talk more about that tomorrow. It's raining and I need to go get Aiden at school. So thanks so much for hanging out with me today, you guys. Thanks for your patience while I was under the weather. I will look forward to seeing you in tomorrow's video. In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful time in your garden, and I'll see you next time. Bye.